think product marketing, maybe marketing in general, but product marketing for sure, sometimes I'll say is a friend of engineering, and sometimes they're a friend of sales.
You are listening to This is Product Marketing, brought to you by Product Marketing Hive, a product marketing community that gives back. I'm Louise. In this episode, John Kreisa, Chief Marketing Officer at Docker, and Crispin Read discuss careers in product marketing management. Let's dive into it right now.
We are delighted to have John Kreisa here, the CMO of Docker, and we're going to be talking about product marketing career roadmap. So let's get started. So first of all, we should start with some introductions. So John, would you like to introduce yourself?
Certainly. Thank you, Crispin. It's good to be with you today and good to see everyone there. So I'm John Kreisa. I am currently the CMO for Docker, open source software company based in Silicon Valley.
Fabulous. And I'm Crispin Read, founder of PMM Hive, and I've done a lot of product marketing and stuff as well. We'll maybe get into that as we go through it. So first of all, what we're going to talk about today is product marketing and the career roadmap. So we're going to go right from the beginning, talk about how do you land your first job in product marketing. Then we're going to talk about, once you have a product marketing job, how do you do a great job at it? And then we'll finish off by just thinking about some of the career paths that can lead from product marketing into other places. So we'll look at the whole sort of thing from that very broad point of view. But just before we get started, John, how do you think about product marketing? What is product marketing to you?
So product marketing it's an essential role for an organization that is around telling the best possible story, really getting the essence of a product and communicating the essence of the capabilities, the value propositions to a specific audience, being able to concisely and succinctly tell that story. And even better, if you can tell that in a kind of exciting and audience-grabbing way. But it's the ability to boil down and understand the very essence of a product and then communicate that value and those capabilities out to an audience.
So some of the folks tuning into this are going to be thinking about careers in product marketing. Are they right to be doing this? Is it a good job?
Product marketing is a fantastic job. It is a job that sits at the center, I think, of a software company or an organization in general. Really, there's lots of different kinds of product marketing, of course, but it's one where you get to interact with a broad spectrum of the internal functions within the business. Not just interact, but in many cases drive a lot of the things that those organizations are doing, as well as externally. You get to interface with and help drive a lot of things that are happening externally within the company. Vis-a-vis, essentially, because you are working around the product, and companies sell products, they market products, they are, that is their business. So a product marketing role sits at the center of that. It's exciting.
Yeah, I agree. I think product marketing jobs are fantastic. And when I think about some of the most fun I've ever had at work, I think that being a product marketing manager, specifically, you've got your product. I think it's a great job, a really great job. There are other sorts of pleasure that come from other kinds of jobs that you can get later, maybe more senior jobs. But I think the product marketing manager might be the most fun job I've ever had, because with the more senior positions come some other headaches as well.
Certainly, and you solely own marketing that product. And to your point, like, you have the responsibility, and I think the manager piece of what you just said is actually important. You are responsible for managing that product and the marketing of that product, and it's important.
Great. So let's take a little case study then. So. You're a CMO now, John, and in your last job as well, you were also running marketing. But at some point you got into product marketing, you got your first product marketing job. What's your story? How did you get into product marketing in the first place?
Yeah, so my career path, I think, is not too dissimilar from other product marketers, in that I actually started as a software engineer in my career, and went from software engineering into product management, kind of the more technical side of working with engineers and defining a roadmap of a product. And then from there moved into product marketing. So, it was kind of a natural journey that went from the very kind of technical software side of it through to the product marketing. And it was essentially because I liked that storytelling communication side of the job. That was the thing that I really enjoyed, was working with the audiences and understanding the internal audiences and the external audiences, and really expressing the value of what we were working with in terms of the software. So that was my path into product marketing. It's how I got my first entree into product marketing, and then blossomed and moved in different directions from there.
Fabulous. And so just my story for that, how did I get into my first product marketing job? I also studied computer science, and we'll talk about whether that's relevant or not a little bit later. And it's certainly not necessary. But anyway, I studied computer science too. I was working as a developer in France for a services company. And then one day I woke up and thought, wait a minute, I'm the product. And I thought, I'm not sure if I want to be a product anymore. And so it occurred to me that there were companies out there that had other products that weren't the people, actual software companies. And I thought, well, and there happened to be a really famous one in France at the time, which is where I was living, which was Business Objects. And so I applied for a job there. And I joined Business Objects, not in product marketing, but in pre-sales. So I was a sales engineer. They were looking for technical people, as the sales team described them, to join the sales process. I didn't think it was very technical because I'd been doing, back-end C++ Unix development. Didn't seem technical to me, running Business Objects, but the sales side was fascinating. So I came in through the pre-sales, which is another path which is not unusual to get into product marketing. So when you've been hiring, or when you are hiring product marketers, John, what is it that you're looking for? What are the core things that you need to bring someone onto a product marketing team?
Yep. It's a good question. I think, I'm a very big believer at a very high level of an attitude and aptitude, in terms of somebody that I'm bringing into any organization. So certainly at those levels, but then if I sort of double click on that in terms of product marketing, what does that mean and look like? From a product marketing standpoint, it ends up looking like the ability to, the enthusiasm, the ability to communicate well, the ability to understand sometimes complex concepts from the product standpoint, and the ability to organize the information, really boil down to the essence, right? When you look at a product, there's a lot of things about it, features and capabilities, but what are the most important ones? And how do I group those in a way that's meaningful and matters to, either the customers we're trying to sell to or the audience we're trying to appeal to? So the good candidates have the ability to kind of boil down and synthesize information across a lot of different components, and then represent that back, both visually, spoken, written word, back out to an audience. So those are kind of core pieces that I look for when I'm looking for a product marketer, even just at the kind of core PMM level, like the entry level.
And where do you find people like that? When you've been bringing people into product marketing teams, do you find them internally? Do you find them externally?
Yeah.
What jobs were they doing?
Yeah, it's I think you referenced one of the common places that I've seen people come into product marketing. That's from a pre-sales role. Pre-sales for a software company has that need very much to be able to communicate to a customer and value and understand the technology. So often it does come from an internal role. I've seen product managers, much like the way that I moved into the role, take on marketing roles, product marketing roles. And then I think there's also people who have, it's not just people who are in technical roles. I've seen people with other sort of industry or other background, depth in backgrounds come into it. So when it's relevant to a product. So, if somebody's working in or has expertise in, say, accounting systems, they might be a good candidate for a product marketing role if they're good and have those core skills that we talked about around the communication, synthesis of information, those kinds of things.
Right. So, yeah, pre-sales, definitely, I see them coming from pre-sales. I was just working recently with a fabulous new product marketer who came from consulting in a company. Mm-hmm. So he knew the products, which was great because he knew the products inside out. This is like financial software. He was a CPA, knew the software perfectly. But also, as you say, he was that person who you want to see on stage as well at the same time. He was passionate about it. He didn't just understand it. He sort of loved to talk about it. He was just super enthusiastic about the whole thing. Great communicator. So we certainly see people in a lot of customer-facing roles, I think.
I think that's right.
Yeah, who know the products as well. Have you ever hired anyone straight out of college into a product marketing team?
I've hired them straight out of college, but I will say that there's a caveat to that for me, which was they had an internship with the company that I was with. So we had previous knowledge and experience of that person. They came into the internship, I'll call it in a generalist way, meaning it wasn't specifically to PMM, but they tried a bunch of different things within marketing, found that they really appreciated and enjoyed that aspect of it. And that was a time that we brought somebody directly in from college. It's probably not as common, I would say, as a path, but it's certainly possible. And I think it's one where maybe if you can get an internship, it's a good way to come in and really sample a broad swath of what marketing does, because there are very many, quite a variability in the different marketing jobs.
Yeah. I think that's fabulous that you were doing marketing internships and that you were able to bring someone in that way. I don't think that product marketing teams do that enough. I've very often seen product marketing teams that I would describe as overly senior in their staffing, including teams where everyone has a director title. Everyone is very senior, very expensive as well. And yet there are things to do in a product marketing team where you don't necessarily need 30 years of experience in the domain to do those things. So I think consulting companies have done a good job in sort of working out that you can mix, right? You can take people who are earlier in their careers, mix them with people that are more experienced and get some good results. But anyway, so let's think about, I wanted to think about some thoughts that we could offer students. And in particular, the topic of major is interesting to me. And I'll ask you a trick question that we'll then go on and discuss. And the trick question is what major is best for product marketing or product management?
I mean, it's a good question, because you might initially say software marketing, or software engineer, which might be one path, or you might say kind of a marketing degree, right? Plenty of universities have different kinds of marketing degrees. So in so much as there might be a blended degree of between those two, a software marketing degree. I haven't looked recently, but there might be such. But I think having the software background, understanding how it's built, if it's a software company that you're doing product marketing for, of course, there's a lot of different kinds of products you can do product marketing for, which aren't software products. So more generalist, I might say probably some kind of marketing degree gives you the best entry into a product marketing job, broadly speaking.
Yeah, and I think probably it depends on the company, right? It depends on what the company does, and really specifically, it depends on who their customers are, and what they're doing or what they're into. So if you take Docker, for example, where you're running marketing, one good background for a Docker, in terms of undergraduate degree, might be computer science, I guess. Right, because Docker's complicated, right? I mean, if someone who's never touched done any computer development, figuring out even what Docker is going to be a bit of a mind-bending thing.
That's right.
But if let's say you're doing product marketing for Marketo, right, which is now part of Adobe, but let's leave Adobe out of it. Imagine Marketo's a marketing automation system. I don't think that having a computer science degree would bring any advantage to product marketing for Marketo.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
And then I found, I was thinking about this the other day, and I was Googling around, and I found a company called Studio Binder, which is in Silicon Beach, Santa Monica, that serves LA companies with, independent movie production software solutions. And so I looked up their careers page, and they don't have any product marketing openings, but they were hiring for a customer success person. One of the things they wanted was experience in production.
Right.
And production to them, of course, means production of movies. And it sort of said in parenthesis, film school's okay. so you could do film school and you could be a product marketing manager.
Right.
Now, it is also true, though, that there are more PMM jobs in some industry areas than others. There are probably not that many PMM jobs in movie production compared to in marketing systems.
Right.
Or ERP or accounting or finance, I don't know, or developer, right? But I think that the interesting thing there is that there's this match that exists where if you get into a company, even doing something that's not product marketing, if it is a company where you could do product marketing because you can identify with the customers, then you have a career path potentially inside that company.
Yes.
So you do computer science, join Docker, in sales, as SDR if you have them, at least you have the effective, you might be able to move into product marketing later, depending on all the other characteristics that you talked about. So I think that's interesting.
Yep, I would agree.
So let's talk about, once you have a product marketing job, how are you going to be great at it? What's the sort of difference between good product marketers and great product marketers? So we'll start with the sort of basics, the good product marketer. What are the important skills and behaviors of a good product marketing manager?
Yep. I mean, it is fundamentally communication, right? Fundamentally the ability to do core messaging and positioning, right? The ability to boil down the capabilities of a product, organize that information so that you can communicate it out in a variety of ways, right? And those communication channels can be, nowadays there's many, social communication channels and what have you, but it boils down to, writing skills, visual, probably communication skills, right? Still using PowerPoint and other visual media to communicate complex concepts about a product, how it works, what the benefits are. So synthesizing that information, working with your engineers, your product management teams to kind of bring all that together, possibly even a competitive team to understand how it's different than, or how it's better than your competitive products, and represent that information so that it can be communicated, not just by you, but also you can put the tools into the hands of the people who also, to scale that communication out into the hands of salespeople and others on the website and all the other places where you need to scale that communication. But it all boils down to getting it to what that, what the essence of it is, and communicating that in a very clear and concise way. That to me, of a good product marketer, is what you've got to have.
So that's stuff that we sometimes call that sort of stuff positioning and messaging.
Positioning and messaging, core positioning messaging. I would, sort of that is the essence of what it is. But you've got to be good at it.
At Product Marketing Hive, we offer a free positioning training course, Positioning for Advantage. It is a positioning and messaging framework that is well suited to B2B technology companies in hot markets. It is a proven framework that has been used by many of the world's most successful technology companies. Check it out on our website, productmarketinghive.com.
Then you've got to be able to do what else? Let's think of the sort of checklist that you'd expect.
Mm-hmm.
What would you expect a competent product marketing manager to be able to do? Just go out and do. Hey, go do this.
Present. I mean, they need to be a good presenter, because in order for you to scale that information, you need to be able to communicate it out internally and train a sales force on how to use that information. You need to be able to participate in demand generation related activities by speaking on webinars, speaking at events, when we get back to events, but all digital now, of course. But you need to be able to present for sure. I would say writing, absolutely, right? You've got to be able to write blog posts, potentially longer formats, white papers, things like that. So certainly writing skills, and then visual, like I said, the PowerPoint skills, the ability to represent that information so that people can understand and get it and grasp it. Like a picture says 1,000 words, right? It is still key and true for a product marketer to be able to do that, and then differentiate, right? I mean, how is this different than that? And that helps. That's a way of communicating, but it helps say, this is why our product is better, or why it's better for you than other things that are out there. Because of course, everybody's working in a competitive market, right? There's always going to be pressures to show why you're better than something else.
Yeah, it's interesting that you bring up the visual piece, the pictures. I don't know if I've never seen that written down on a product marketing job description. Be good at sort of visual graphical communication. But I agree with you though, because quite often. And I don't know if it matters if it's a technical product or if it's a non-technical product, but there are pictures that you can create that communicate a lot of information, sort of architectural pictures, right, which are based on a true story, but they're not architecturally correct, they're not technically accurate, but they're based on a true story, and they allow you to synthesize information into a way that people can just get it straight away.
Right.
And some people are very good at that.
And we all know that when we've seen a good, sometimes it's one of those, I know it when I see it kind of things, but we all know when we've seen a bad one. We also know when we've seen a very good one, and it's there's an essence to it that is clear and concise, and you go, okay, I get that complex concept.
That's true. I'm just thinking that one of the easiest things in marketing is to spot bad marketing. Spotting bad marketing is probably easier than doing good marketing. Anyway, so let's think about great product marketers. So what's the difference between someone who's good product marketer, you're happy to have them on the team, they're doing a fine job, and someone who's really great, someone who's very impressive that you see their career taking off?
Yeah, I think, when you can be very good at some of the core blocking and tackling, I'll call it, of messaging and positioning, but you can lack probably a couple of other things that don't get you to that next level or really make you a great product marketer. Just really fantastic communication skills, for sure, right, are something that moves you to the next level. I think understanding the broader aspects of a product. I mean, products exist within a larger company, and there's a lot of other components that move. So understanding who the other pieces of the functions in the organization and working with those people. So bringing in those other functions and utilizing them and helping them to grow not just your career, but to make you a better product marketer, right? A great product marketer has very thick skin. A great product marketer seeks out input from a broad set of audiences, I would say, right? You know that, yes, you want to get it from your other product marketers or other marketers, but you really seek out input from key people that you can trust in sales or pre-sales or product management or some of the other functions. Like you know that you need to go and get input into what you're doing just to make your product that much more impactful and better, or your marketing that much better and impactful. So certainly a couple of things there in terms of sort of stepping up and having a broader perspective and seeking out that additional input from your organization.
So they're very broadly connected. It sounds like what you're saying there. They are connected, first of all. They're not sitting at their desk saying, I'm going to be the best person at doing my job. They're very connected, but they're not only connected in one, because there's so many directions. I think the most interesting, what makes PMM interesting is that you're right in the middle of all these things, right? So,
yes.
And the great product marketers that I've worked with they've got great relationships with development. They got on fabulously with those guys. They're in there well before the product is ready to be launched. They know what's coming. With a formal process or without a formal process, but they're doing the same thing in the other direction with the demand generation team.
Yep.
Right. They're working with those guys. There's the product, there's the marketing, there's the sales teams. They've got very good ties into sales, right? So it's this idea of being very broadly connected, but then of course having impact as well means that they're doing strategic stuff about. They're not just doing it for fun. I mean, they are probably having fun doing it and building good relationships, possibly social relationships as well, but they're also getting stuff done.
Yeah.
In all those directions.
It's impactful. And I was thinking about it as you were saying, speaking there. Yes, broadly connected. I think product marketing, maybe marketing in general, but product marketing for sure, sometimes I'll say is a friend of engineering, and sometimes they're a friend of sales. And having the relationships at the right level of respect and strength and mutual exchange of value means you can sit and straddle that, because sometimes you need to advocate for something that sales is advocating for, and sometimes you need to advocate with engineering to say this can or can't be done for these reasons. And a great product marketer will have those relationships and understand when they need to take which side, and how and the importance of having that depth of relationship. And I think that's, to me, something I see great product marketers can play both sides of that coin, because you do straddle that that kind of sales side and the engineering side, and there's always a natural tension there.
Yeah, no, you talk about respect. I think that's a good way to think about it. Is how do you manage to be respected by such different constituencies, right? You're respected by the engineers, but you're also respected by the salespeople. They couldn't be more different, right?
Right.
So
it's true. It'd be a sign of a great product marketer.
It is.
If you achieve that. It really is.
It really is. Yeah. So let's talk about some things that can get in the way. What can hold a PMM back in their career? What are the sort of obstacles to success, traps you could fall into?
Join our community, Product Marketing Hive, to meet fellow product marketers and access free resources, including training, playbooks, templates, and events. We are looking forward to seeing you. Check out our website, productmarketinghive.com, for more information.
Yeah. So it's there's probably a couple that everybody should be aware, and I think you and I have both seen it in our careers. And one of them is I'll call it ivory tower syndrome, and it is easy to fall into that. And what I mean by that is you sit heads down doing possibly great work, but your heads down and you're not thinking about broader audiences or interacting, and you're simply creating some product marketing and then shipping it out to the organization without interfacing or getting in feedback or whatever. So you're basically sitting in the ivory tower of the corporate and then pushing things out to the field, to the sales teams, to the other audiences and constituencies, without even getting feedback or checking your work or establishing those relationships and that trust. And that to me is kind of a death knell. You can be great creating really, really good work, but without sort of having those relationships and understanding the dynamic that you need to have there, you can really fall into a bad place there, I would say. Another's one that I mentioned earlier, and that's not having thick skin. Like you by definition, product marketers sit at the center of, and we're talking about a little bit, you've got all of the engineering and product management side on one side, you've got all of sales and the go-to-market piece on the other side. You are sitting at the center. You've got a bunch of corporate clients and customers throughout the rest of marketing that's depending on you. And so you need to have thick skin because you're going to get a lot of feedback, and you need to seek that feedback out. But if you're not a person who can make your work better and understand that getting feedback, sometimes harsh feedback, makes your work better, then that's another, I think, pitfall that happens to product marketers and can really limit your career. I mean, you can have a good career, but you're not going to have a great career if you can't get good feedback.
Yeah, I mean, product marketing, as a product marketer, you're a highly visible target, right? Yes. I mean, if someone is looking for an excuse, there's some people would say that in a sales team, if sales are going well, then it's because the sales team is great. If sales are not going well, it's because of some other problem, right?
Yeah, often happens. Yes.
And marketing could be one of them. Product would be another one. So yeah, it's a really visible position, and that comes with all the good and all the difficulty that sort of goes with that. So let's think about that's great. Let's think about sort of where do you go from product marketing, or career paths within product marketing, and then career paths to other things. Perhaps we could start with, so you're a CMO now, and you've been a CMO before as well. So what's your story? How did you transition from product marketing into running marketing overall?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think it's a career path that is definitely achievable for people if you have your heads up. And what I mean by that is, as a product marketer, you understand a lot of aspects of the business, how things are getting written and how they're getting done and how the value of the products and how they're getting sold, in order to, which gives you the ability to move around as a marketer. And in my specific case, what I did was I went from product marketing, or I'll say I added to my portfolio of industry marketing. And the industry marketing component that we were doing, because at the time the company had a very industry specific go-to-market strategy, involved the demand generation within that industry. So for me, I began to understand even more how the demand for the company was being created, how that flowed all the way through to the sales process and how that was becoming closed won business. And that expansion of my understanding of how marketing worked, along with tangential experience in AR and PR and branding and some of the other pieces, but specifically the demand generation was what enabled me to make that jump from, running, component of marketing to running all of marketing. Because, ultimately, companies are coin operated businesses. They need to sell, to grow, through whatever channels those might be. But you have to understand how the business side of it works and how the demand generation works if, as a marketer, you want to move up to that next level, regardless of where you start. And certainly, but in PMM, as a PMM or in product marketing, you do have a leg up because you do understand such a core component of the business. That's how I ultimately made that step to running all of marketing and to be a CMO.
Yeah, that makes sense. And that was also my job after product marketing was running marketing. And it was as I got into that CMO role, I realized how much I didn't know at that time about demand generation, about how to all of the revenue aspects of marketing, which at that time, because it was a while ago, were less well established than they are now. But right now, marketing is very, very dialed in on numbers, metrics, revenue generation ultimately. So you're not going to get to be a CMO unless you're very much into that side of the business as well. So from a career point of view, the least useful thing you can do in product marketing is to really sort of, be as narrow as you can, sort of double down on your little world and try and forget about everyone else, because that's not going to work out. So going from product marketing to, and of course there are promotion paths within product marketing,
Sure.
right? Some product marketing teams are very big. And also, I would also say, and I go back to the best jobs I ever had might have been product marketing manager jobs. And I know people who've done that for years and for their whole careers, and I don't blame them because they're good jobs. So, it's not necessarily a better thing to end up in a role where you're running marketing. But that's one path. What are the other paths that other directions people could go in from product marketing?
Yeah. As you said, I think it should be discussed just a little bit, the specialization within product marketing, because a larger product marketing organization has specialty in even in messaging and positioning, or competitive analysis, or maybe even the industry components, or technical marketing, or running building demos of the software. Like, there's a bunch of different places you can be just within a product marketing organization that that are fun and interesting components of product marketing overall, let alone, as you said, the leadership of that. I think you can move over to there's even probably, if you understand the event side of it, you could move into more of the event and demand generation to try to get some of that experience. If you enjoy the organizational components of events, which would give you that demand, I think you could do industry marketing. If you happen, as you said, if you came into product marketing with a particular background, or you develop that through the process of your research while you're in product marketing, or even advanced study, then you could move into an industry marketing role, which by definition both could exist within product marketing, but really could be its own separate thing within marketing, and how you're helping communicate into a specific industry, and how you changes a little bit, and even how you work with a sales team, right? You can become more of I'll call it a smoke jumper, like a person who goes and spends a lot more time out in the field working with sales with customers in a specific industry to try to help close deals. And again, it gives you that revenue and that more demand experience, which can help you move. And I know folks that have moved that direction up through to a marketing leadership role too, if you choose. So I think there's a couple different places you can go. Maybe branding. I think that's you have to, a little bit more specialty in working in that field. My experience anyway is for something like that. So within marketing, there's a bunch of different ways you could go, I think.
Yeah, but I think that's one of the fascinating things about being in product marketing, is you're connected to so many different directions that you could follow any of those directions effectively as a career path. I know several people who are running product, who came from product marketing and now they're running product. People who move into sales, not typically sort of like the big picture strategic account sales, but more channel based, or more that kind of sales process. So channel sales, partnership, alliances type roles as well. So yeah, there's and of course and also because you've seen so much of the business, there's nothing really stopping you in terms of where you could go next. There are certainly lots of CEOs who've moved through product marketing.
Yeah.
As well. So thank you so much for joining me today. That was a fun conversation. It
was good.
And don't forget to check out everything else we have on PMM Hive. And thank you.
Thank you, Crispin.
Thank you for tuning into This is Product Marketing, brought to you by Product Marketing Hive, a product marketing community that gives back. If you enjoyed our podcast, please subscribe and give a 5-star rating on the platform of your choice. See you next time.